paper or treatise? Is this a kind of a semi-autobiography? It looks like mga kameta base sa mga na-gather natin ng mga crowdsourced information so far, mukhang it's all of the above, no? So tayo ang liwanag. Ito po yung bagong libro na na-launch ni Attorney Lenny Robredo just the other day. At least yun ang nakita natin base dun sa mga post ni Ma'am Leni at yung kanyang mga pages and social media platforms. Kagabi, medyo pinag-usapan yan. Mga 1 a.m. yata natin na-share yan. No? Nakita natin itong announcement na yan on Twitter. So, this is it, mga kameta. This is it. Talagang fresh na fresh. At pansin natin yung sa likod talaga may pagka-sakura, spring, anime. So, mukhang yung pagbisita ni Lenny Robredo dun sa Japan, no? Yung mga samurai picture, mga ganun. Mukhang mukhang nag-inspire ito ng a very new approach to political discourse and also a very new approach to understanding, appreciating, analyzing, prognosticating on the future of the Philippines, good governance, reform/reform movement, no? Of course, mga kameta, mahalaga itong development na yan because, as I said, for quite some time, a number of things have been happening. So sa isang banda, mga kameta, nakita natin na there have been concerns about where's the Philippine opposition? Is there a crisis of Philippine opposition? Which literally was a title of one of my columns for the Philippine Daily Inquirer. There were conversations about, how long is this honeymoon period of Marcos Jr. going to last? In a sense that you're not going to see vigorous, systematic, vocal criticism laban sa kasalukuyan na presidente. I mean, after we're talking about Ferdinand Marcos Jr., supposedly a very polarizing figure. At of course, may mga iba dyan na sinasabi baka naging travel vlogger na lang yung mga leaders of opposition, no? And that also raised the speculation that maybe we're now looking at the possibility of a grand coalition. Or a kind of a team of rival kung saan people associated with the liberals or the progressive movement could be part of a kind of a unity cabinet. Kaya pinag-usapan natin si Mar Rojas, pinag-usapan natin even si Kiko Pangilinan as potentially part of a grand coalition. So Kiko, Department of Agriculture, Mar Rojas, Department of Trade and Industry. As I said, there's a huge element of marites and unconfirmed speculations. But speculations have a value. I mean, there's a reason why people speculate or people share marites, because by sharing marites, you want to create a certain kind of reaction na pwede magkaroon ng epekto dun sa actual political decision making. So you can look at it as a form of a trial balloon strategy, no? But in a reverse sense of the word. So generally when you say trial balloon, it's like you want to do something, but you send feelers out there and then you want to see what is the reaction of people. You could also look at the possibility that some people are worried that Marcos Jr. is moving away from the legacy of the former administration and that he's moving towards more the center. I mean, kung tignan mo yung foreign policy ni Marcos Jr., far closer to Aquino's legacy than Duterte's legacy. If you look at Marcos' position on drug war, on many other issues, including yung kanyang relationship with the media, again, this is far closer to a standard Filipino president rather than a continuity as far as the Duterte era is concerned, no? So, in light of all of that, mga kameta, I think mahalaga itong announcement na may libro na si Lenny Robredo. Now, I know the critics are gonna say, ano na naman yan? Pakit na naman yan? Ano yan? Para hindi naman mukhang totoong book yan. Ano lang siguro yan? Brochure lang yan. Mga pakit. So, you can imagine, mga kameta, that there are gonna be a lot of dismissive statements. There are gonna be a lot of dismissive statements about the value of this book, the value of these efforts. Sasabihin ng iba dyan na PR exercise lang yan, na there's nothing really serious about it, na this is pa-cute lang, this is pa-relevance lang. Yan ang sasabihin ng mga critics, mga kameta. But for sure, mga kameta, iniisip na mabuti nung kampo ni Lenny Robredo, yung timing na to, and I don't mean it in an opportunistic way, I just mean it in a sensible way. And pag hopefully nakita natin yung content ng libro neto, we can better analyze, magkakaroon tayo ng content analysis in order to not only prognosticate but actually kind of in an anatomy physiology way we can kind of dissect no yung mga key ideas, elements, aspirations, visions, realignment, strategic calculus, all of those elements that are essentially rushing through the minds and consciousness of the leaders of the opposition nowadays, mga kameta. Mahalaga yan, mahalaga yan, mahalaga yan. At nakita natin, the reaction online was very positive. Obviously, we're 1 year removed from a very intense elections last year. Alam natin na maraming tao ay hindi pa rin naka-move on siguro dun sa resulta ng elections. Many people are still wondering if the elections was really properly accounted for. There are many supporters of Leni Robredo who are saying maybe we have to return the favor of what they did to her when she became the duly elected vice president by questioning yung mandate ng current president. There's a lot of emotions out. There are a lot of emotions out there. A lot of frustration, a lot of anxiety, a lot of also anticipation no, about what will Leni Robredo do next. Kaya nung pinag-usapan natin yung possibility of Leni running for Senate, Leni potentially considering another presidential run in 2028 because things could look very interesting down the road. Tulfo could run, Sara could run. That could split a specific base, open up opportunities for her side. And then now, ito, may conversation tayo about a grand coalition, about a team of rivals. All of this Marites and half Marites and potentially true leaks, no? All of this suggests that Leni is not irrelevant, that Leni could still become a relevant actor depending on how she plays her cards in the coming months and the coming years. Next year, mga kameta, it's going to be a conversation about midterm elections. It's going to be a conversation about what is the opposition going to do. It's going to be a conversation about what can be done in order to push the Philippines in the right direction. All of those things will be there, mga kameta. All of those things will be there. So based sa mga initial impressions na nakuha natin, based sa initial comments na nakuha natin so far, mga kameta, mukhang this book is both retrospective and also prospective. It's retrospective in a sense that it looks at the critical moments, the convictions, the calculus, everything behind yung decision ni Leni Robredo na tumakbo bilang presidente ng Pilipinas. We all know that was a very difficult decision. Many would argue that the decision came a little bit too much at the 11th hour or past the 11th hour. Nevertheless, it was a fateful decision. Leni won 15 million votes, at least officially speaking. I think she had huge potential to win either 20 million votes or 25 million votes. I think she had that potential if the campaign strategy was more effective, if the messaging was better, and if the other side was not as unified and robust also in its own bid for the highest offices. I'm talking about number 1 and number 2 offices. I'm talking about BBM. I'm talking about Sara Duterte. So all of those elements, mga kameta, yun ang mga tinitignan natin ngayon, no? Now, so that book is retrospective. It looks at, wait lang, galaw tayo. Dami kong Italiano style. Okay, kailangan natin i-adjust muna ng screen kasi, okay. No. What we're saying, mga kameta, is ito. So there's definitely an aspect of retrospection there. What I look forward to reading here, hopefully kung, baka naman, may review copies dyan, di ba? Medyo legit naman tayong writer here, di ba? I want to also see introspection. I think there's retrospection, but there's also introspection about yung analysis or understanding Leni about what are the things that went right, what are the things that did not so much turn out as well as she was expecting, and what are the things that really went wrong, right? So we want to see introspection because I think that's very important. This is important because we're talking about emotional reckoning. This is also important because we're talking about intellectual reckoning, no? In terms of dissecting ano yung mga kulang, anong pwede improve, ano yung pwede i-tweak, and ano yung mga tama dun sa strategy ng kanyang campaign team in the last elections, mga kameta. Introspection is also about what are lessons for the future, which brings us to the prognostication, no? So retrospection, introspection, prognostication, no? So we're moving towards that, no? Because there we can see a synthesis of what Leni Robredo and the opposition could potentially look forward to in terms of ensuring that the opposition moves in the right direction in the coming months and the coming year. And by next year, mga kameta, kailangan na talaga mag-prepare ang opposition if they want to be part of the emerging realignments and political landscape as far as the Philippines is concerned. No, we also want to see if there is any indication or whiff of Lenny considering returning to politics at the national level or in ways that helps the opposition to reassert its position at the center of Philippine politics. Yun din natitingnan natin mga kameta. So, many important things to look at. As I said, it's quite, I'll say, how should I put it? Madali dismiss ito na, ay, pa-relevant lang yan, pakit lang yan, wala lang yan. But for me, alam natin, hindi para sa wala lang yung mga ganito. I don't think in vain yung mga ganitong activities. And I think, even regardless of what are the exact intentions or calculus behind it, I think this could be a big thing if it generates a certain momentum. And let's see what is going to be the reaction of the intelligentsia as far as the opposition, the progressive movement, all of that is concerned, mga kameta. And whether tayong liwanag is also going to help to keep the hope, keep the faith. I think that's a big element of it. Kaya nga nakita natin, I think this logo says a lot. Itong tayong liwanag. I think this really tells you a lot about what the Leni team wants to achieve here, which is keep the faith. Keep the faith. Don't give up. There's still a lot to do, and this is not just about the 2022 elections. This is the 2022 elections is just the beginning. So I think yun yung issue dito. As I said, this is again very important because in the coming weeks, Marcos cabinet could have a very different character, and potentially some figures associated with the liberals or the opposition could be even part of the cabinet. No, so the timing is important. The way it could shape up or reshape the coordinates of political discourse, if not actual big political moves in the country, that's also very important. Tignan natin yan. So in a way, sinasabi ni Leni dito na hindi pa tapos ang laban and that the pink movement has just begun. And kaya nga, and the emphasis on tayo, I think, is the communitarian element to this. The idea that this is not just about Leni. This is not just about the 2022 elections. This is not just about the few figures, she, herself or Kiko, but this is something much bigger. This is about the movement. So, tayong liwanag, and nilagay mo yung angat buhay, mga yan, I think that could be kind of a microcosm of something bigger, something more important in the coming months and year. No guarantee. Again, no guarantee. We saw on many occasions that there were big expectations for the opposition to deliver, and they did not. There were many times that you would expect more decisiveness. It didn't happen. But again, this is Philippines. And this is politics. Always there's room for surprise. Now, interestingly mga kameta, a while ago, meron tayong ginawang parang survey. I just thought about it because I want to see how people are looking at these issues. Oh, by the way, before going that, let me talk about also something very important. Bakit sinasabi na tayo? Tayo because if you look at the Lenny campaign, it is the most inclusive campaign in terms of fundraising, at least if you look at it. So a very interesting study by the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism came out a while ago. So makikita niyo dyan, yung mga bilog na yan, that is the size of the contribution. That is the size of contribution. And then, yung kulay, that indicates sinong kandidato. So, yung red, Marcos, blue, Moreno, green, Lacson, ano yan? Hockey ba yan? What's that? Oh, Pacquiao. But the pink one, very interestingly, that's Leni Robredo. So, you could see the Leni circles are very small, or at least incomparable. I mean, you could see at least one Moreno circle and one Pacquiao circle is bigger than the biggest circle that the Leni campaign could put forward. Definitely nothing as big as that big circle than sa Marcos na yan. So many little circles, many contribution from a broad spectrum of people. So this for me could be a seed of a new approach to politics, which is campaign financing and campaign fundraising in the most inclusive way possible, because the more na malaki yung mga contributors, the more na you're beholden to them. The more na maliliit ang contributors at mas marami sila, the more that you can expect a more vibrant, broad-based, inclusive, and accountable government. No, I'm not saying necessary just because you get big donors. That's not the case. But my thing is, yung idea of few big donors, that has been the rigor in the Philippines for quite some time. What we're interested in, obviously, this is just the declared ones we know about, ibang usapan yan. But nevertheless, it's very interesting if you look at the campaign contributions to Leni. It comes from a lot of people from across the ideological spectrum, and it tells you the possibility for a new era of campaign financing. Kasi mga kameta, isang malaking dahilan na maraming matatalino at matitino at maayos na tayo hindi tumatakbo sa politika is because number one, tanong, saan ka kukuha ng pera? Kasi kung tatakbo ka ng Senado, at least gagastos ka ng few hundred million pesos. Senado lang yan, ha? Few hundred million pesos. Saan ka kukuha ng pera niyan? Now, sabihin natin, swerte ka, may mga gusto mag-back up sa'yo, pero dodgy naman, or questionable, or that could create conflict of interest issues later on, then that also is gonna present its own moral dilemma. Diba? Kaya maraming magagaling at matitino ay hindi tumatakbo sa politika. Lalo sa mga bansang katulad ng Pilipinas, kung saan napaka-problematic ang campaign financing culture natin. Walang state subsidies, walang real supervision, laws, etc. So we really have to deal with this campaign financing issue because this is at the heart of our democratic crisis. Because kung mga matitinong tao, kung hindi sila tumatakbo sa politika dahil wala silang pera or natatakot sila na maging dependent sila dun sa mga dodgy, shady people kung gusto nila tumakbo, then you're always gonna have a suboptimal outcome. Your choices, your menu is gonna be suboptimal to begin with because the best of the best have already been called out and filtered out before even the race began. So yun yung isang malaking issue. Kaya for me, mahalaga itong paper ng Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism which talks about how the Lenny campaign was unique and potentially revolutionary because it relied on a huge number of small donors. No? This is very interesting, mga kapatid. So, basahin niyo yung report na yan. So, I really like the fact that back-to-back na release itong paper, at yung report nakita ko and yung about the small donor contribution. Basahin natin itong mga kameta para we have a better discussion on these issues. It's very interesting, very interesting. Again, yun ang kailangan natin mga discussion, mga ganitong style, mga kameta. We have to really talk about it. So, ito. Big donors, I'm reading from the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, big donors who gave 10 million to 20 million accounted for only 19%, less than 1/5, of Vice President Leni Robredo's campaign funds noong 2022 elections. Of course, hindi natin alam yung mga, lalo na, I'm not, bahala na mag-connect dots. Obviously, we know that when it comes to Leni Robredo, she is consistently one of the most accountable politicians or stateswomen that we have ever had. I mean, just look at the Commission on Audit. Ilang beses na nag-top si Leni sa... So we can expect that, we can confidently say that her campaign was quite transparent pagdating dun sa election contributions. Now, alam niyo na. Okay. So, yung mga nag-contribute ng 10 to 20 million pesos. 10 to 20 million, guys, is big. But it's actually not so big when you look at elections kung saan billion ang ginagastos. Yung totoong gastos, hindi yung mga declared lang. Yung totoong ginastos, potentially billions yan, mga kameta. Alright? Potentially billions yan. Now, dito, makikita natin, sobrang konti yung mga nag-contribute ng mid-size contributions. Right? So, you're looking at $200, $300, $400,000, which is pipsqueak, you know, compared to billions that could have gone to other campaigns. No, so the list of donations to former Vice President Maria Leonor Leni Robredo's historic, albeit unsuccessful campaign is long. She received 333 individual donations from a total of 307 individuals. A few of them giving more than once based on sa disclosures niya sa Commission on Elections. So again, this is based on the disclosure of all candidates, all major candidates, pagdating dun sa COMELEC data. No, it's an unprecedented number seen in the Statement of Contribution Expenditures (SOCE) of presidential candidates sa Philippine elections. So mukhang never nangyari na ganong kadaming tao na relatively small yung contributions, right, na nag-contribute sa isang kandidato. So broad-based, transparent. This is very important. Most leading presidential candidates received the bulk of their donations dun sa mga donors who gave at least 10 million pesos and more that could purchase high-end condominiums in the country's capital. I disagree with that. You cannot get high-end condominiums ngayon sa Manila sa 10 million pesos. Sino ba na dyan sa PCIJ? Last year pala ito eh. Sorry, last year pa pala itong report. Parang na-share yan, but this is relevant. Okay, correction. Last year pa. But it's relevant to discuss ngayon. But, hindi. Kahit last year mga kameta, hindi. A minimum 2-bedroom makukuha mas na matino na upper middle end ay 15 million pesos above nowadays. Okay, anyway. So in terms of number of separate donations, most of Roberta's donors gave less than 1 million pesos each. At marami sa kanila ay small donations. 208 out of 333 ay small donations. So this is really interesting. Roberta's six biggest donors who donated 10 to 20 million pesos each gave a combined amount of 75 million pesos. It was not 19% of her total. Meanwhile, yung small donations amounting to 60 million pesos, so more than $1 million, or 15% of our campaign. That was equal to 15% of our campaign. So this is the smallest donation amounted to 5,000 pesos, wala pang $100 in cash from a humanitarian worker who actively campaigned for a bread on social media. Kaya nga dito nakita natin yung passion eh. Dito natin nakita yung passion. Bakit dami lumalabas? Because literally a lot of people voted for her not only by going there to the voting booth, but by going to the campaigns and cashing out money. 5,000 may be nothing for some trapo or for some oligarch, but ang laking pera ito if we're talking about the humanitarian worker. No? Robredo's total donations were just short of 400 million pesos, so hindi siya pobre ng elections, marami siyang pera, okay? So we're not talking about Calyodi level of, financial difficulty. She had resources. And then, nagdagdag din siya from her own pocket. Okay. Parang malaking amount na yun, Wait lang, tingnan nyo na yan. Okay. Anyway, I'm more interested to also see what's yung contribution ng ibang camps. So you can check the report on your own. You can see that the contribution from some law offices and was quite big to, or some individuals quite big to the other candidates. Titignan yan. Anyway, mga kameta, I wanted to bring back this very interesting data because this data tells you that yung idea na tayo ang liwanag, meaning a communitarian collective effort, is very, very true. Because the Lenny Campaign was not just a Lenny Campaign. It was a campaign supported by many, many people with humble resources who gave their time, who gave their energy, who campaigned for her, who volunteered for her. We're talking about tens of thousands of volunteers. We're talking about celebrity volunteers. We're talking about people who gave donations, 5,000 pesos, 1,000 pesos, 10,000 pesos. Hindi siguro malaki compared dun sa mga ibang donations, but big amount for them, no? So yun yung tinitignan natin, mga kameto. This is what make her campaign quite special. And that's what I'm saying. Ang problema sa Pilipinas is parating. Kung meron tayong elections, lahat excited, tapos pagtapos ng elections, wala na paking tao, gusto nila mag-move on. But for me, it's important to dissect what happened in the previous election so that you can fight the good fight better in the next election. And dito, I think, interesado ako anong sinulat nila dito. But it's not only what's there, but what's not there, or what's being said in between the lines. So mga kameta, let's do another vlog on this, another analysis on this, hopefully once we have a copy. Sana naman, baka naman, may mga review copies dyan for free. Kailangan natin mga daming gastos. Okay, thank you very much, mga kameta. I really appreciate it. Maraming salamat sa mga lahat ng sumusuporta sa atin. Ito si Carlos Fortunato, sabi niya, mostly middle class, upper middle class. Okay, alright. Thank you kay Ma'am Victoria. Thank you very much for support. Thank you kay Boy Kigol. Ano sabi ni Boy Kigol? Ay, hindi thank you sa'yo. Nagtotroll ka sa akin eh. Thank you kay Niset Cabandukos. Good evening din po. Maraming salamat po. Kay James Torres. Thank you very much. Kay Ria Aria. Thank you very much. Also kay Coach Rico, no? Thank you very much, coach natin sa Taekwondo back in the day, sir. Thank you very much for reaching out to that. Alright, baka mamaya may mga vlogs tayo kasi black belt na rin tayo. Hindi pwede na tayo magano dyan, mga vlogs ng MMA dyan. No, let me also say thank you dito sa mga nag-comment dito. Kay Ma'am Eden Alona, as always, thank you so much. Pleasure. The Rosario Boy, kay Long Arienza, Riz Ani, thank you so much. Lahat ng mga sumusuporta sa atin. I look forward to your comments and suggestions and discussions. Don't worry, binabasa ko talaga. Nakita niyo, pumapatol din ako dun sa iba ko na nagtatroll sila sa akin. Salamat kay Felipe Nunez also for joining us. Sherwin Liberato also for joining us. 30 De Guzman. Charlo Isila Noya, thank you very much. Parang late kasi, by the way, yung pinost ko kanina naka-Manchester City, late na yan ha. Just to be clear, Real Madrid talaga tayo. Los Blancos tayo. I mean, just look at this. I mean, come on. But nagkataon lang, Tama kasi, coherence dun sa sky color, kaya nag-Manchester City tayo. Anyway, sabi ni Ma Corazon Beccio na maganda daw yung book. Ay, may copy. Taray. Cecile Francesco, thanks daw sa information. Salamat din sa inyo. Kay Mark Noble, thank you very much also for comments. Sir Michael Uy, as always. Ito si Sir Michael Uy, parating sinasabi, mahalaga talaga yung civic engagement. Mahalaga talaga. I completely agree. But for civic engagement to happen, you also need the fuel for it. You need, you need the kind of locomotive for it, right? And the locomotive should come also from the leadership. Kay Madrigal Heya, thank you very much also for joining us. Ayan, saan ba yan? Sabi ni Long Arienza. Tignan nyo, ipopost ko yan. Basta dun sa page ni Ma'am Leni, pakicheck niyan, alright? Yung mga announcements, and I look forward to having a copy. Ayan, yung slang natin. Slang ka, sir. Basta slang, hindi konyo. Ano ba basahin yan? Mamaya mag-ano na naman tayo, kakalat na naman tayo dyan. Anyways, mga kameta, thank you very much. Pleasure, and talk to you soon. God bless.